Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where we're gearing up for some intense action as we dive into the world of beat-em up games, revealing our top 4 that have delivered adrenaline-pumping brawls.
Get ready to unleash your fists, master powerful combos, and take on hordes of foes in these iconic beat-em-up titles.
From classic side-scrolling brawlers to modern 3D slugfests, our episode pays homage to the games that have kept us punching and kicking our way to victory.
This countdown isn't just about games, it's a celebration of the thrilling, button-mashing, and cooperative mayhem that beat-em-ups bring to gaming.
Grab a handful of quarters, subscribe to the channel, prepare to unleash your inner brutality. We unveil the top 4 beat-em-up games that have defined the genre.
Get ready to throw down because the Rushmore Show starts right now! Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more. Kirk, we've done it. We've made it 2 months, our first 2-month cycle of a topic, video games, all these 2 months. Man, it has been a blast. A lot of obviously retro nostalgia, iconic, ding, 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 hit all those things in there. This has been a blast, man. But hey, it's not over yet because we have a great episode tonight. Very excited for what's going to be happening here. We've got amazing zoom happening on Kirk's camera. He's just zooming into his face. It's going crazy right now. But Kirk, are you excited about today's episode?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited today. Today we are discussing one of the greatest genres of video games. Some call them beat 'em ups, other people call them brawlers, basically 2D side scrollers. Usually they recently have gone 3D, but mainly a ton of enemies, big bad bosses, lots of fighting, more than usual, a lot of button mashing. And I'm excited to do this one, mainly because of this. And look, I've been compiling my list for actually a couple weeks once we got our guests together, and I've decided I don't have a 1 through 4 this week. I am going to.
You just have 4.
I have about 15, and
yeah.
pending how this thing flies out, pending how I lay down my picks.
You got
I try 100% not to crush more with you guys. That's my goal because there are so many good ones at the top of this. And then at the bottom, it gets real murky. At the top, there's a lot of heavy hitters and there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of iconic ones, like we always say. But as I'm trying to fit them in, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how this all pans out. So that's what I'm excited about.
We were talking about this earlier. It's a little tricky because a few weeks ago we did platformers, and there's similarities between platformers and beat 'em ups. A platformer, in the sense of this, is kind of the broad term, right? Very similar to what we're talking about. Beat 'em up is a sort of subgenre of the platformer. So, in a sense, beat 'em ups are platformers, but not all platformers are beat 'em ups, if that makes sense.
Right.
But, so it's kind of some carryover.
This is what the old, all-seeing eye Wikipedia says about it. A beat 'em up, also known a brawler or beat 'em all, is a video game genre featuring hand-to-hand combat against large number of opponents. Traditional beat 'em ups take place in a scrolling 2D dimensional levels. So it's a 2D scroller, it's a platformer. While number of modern games open to the 3D environments, the gameplay tends to follow the arcade genre, such as simple to learn, difficult to master, and compact systems that are highly developed side-scrolling games. This is the best part. 2 to 4 player co-ops are usually very instinctive, and they're usually built to shove a lot of quarters in the machine. So they'll give you a couple lives, they'll let you get to a spot, and let you keep feeding those quarters as far as continues go, so you can get to the end of the game. So that's kind of what we're looking at today. You guys know a ton of them. Once we start naming them, you're going to be like, oh, I didn't realize that. And so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So, hey, I don't want to waste any more time. We got a lot of enemies approaching us. They're all the same character, just with a different color shirt on. So
that is something I was going to talk about today. How often they reuse the pixels, but we just change color. Yeah,
it'll be brought back up for sure. But hey, let's get into today's episode. Rushmore of Beat'em Ups.
All right, Rushmore Show, it is time. It's time. It's Veda time. I love that quote. But hey, Beat'em Ups. It is time to welcome our guest. Let me just kind of give him a little bit of an introduction. We met him, actually, I think we met him at both cons a little bit, but I remember talking to him at our booth at the convention, and his name is Keith, and he runs a podcast called Blerdish. Please welcome to the show our new friend and Summit Squad, Keith Cooper. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how y'all doing out there?
Man, so let me just, you do a unique thing. Hey, I've been following nerd culture for a long time, and I see Blerdish and Black Nerd as a very rising kind of subgenre of the nerd geek culture. Tell us a little bit about what is your mission, like what gets you up in the morning to do your podcast and your blogging, and tell the Summit Squad a little bit about what you've got going on in your world.
Well, what I generally do is, of course, I'm a podcaster. I'm also a indie comic book distributor. I'm also a Twitch gamer. For my job, I also am a con planner as well, for the most part for the past few years. I've been doing the podcast for almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years in June. Been a salesman of comic books for about 7 years or six. And I've been doing it for that long. So I guess what gets me going, we originally started Blerdish as a podcast to bring on a lot of say indie diverse creators, to give them a platform to discuss what they do. We kind of have, not say gotten away from that. We don't have as many guests on, but we do collab with other podcasts. We do a lot. We always going to do TV reviews. We're always going to do movie reviews. We're always going to do anime. So, but we are still open to guests, and generally we like to have authors, writers, artists on who are doing something. Not so much Kickstarters these days for various reasons. Just because I guess I'm selfish. I like to know that your stuff is ready. But we like to bring on anybody who's doing anything, something positive in the community, in any community, and uplifting. So that's kind of our goal. We keep it simple, and but we try to be a place to introduce something to other folks out there, and to give them a place to be able to, like, hey, I got a book, this is what it's about, and this is what is going on for the most part.
That's
how we started.
What's going on in Blerdish this week, this month? This episode, at the time of this filming, friends, we are kind of in the beginning of February, but this episode you guys are seeing towards the end of February. So tell us kind of what's going on in February and March for you.
What we've been doing in February, or in general, we just did a review of Oscar nominated American Fiction. That was a wonderful movie. I highly recommend it. It is R-rated, but it is very good. With Jeffrey Wright and Sterling Brown of This Is Us and from Black Panther. A phenomenal cast. I highly recommend it. It was one of the few movies that I was just looking forward to. I was trying to find it hard. It was way out and only in New Orleans for the longest because it was limited release. It's owned by Amazon. So hopefully by the time you all see this, it'll be very accessible to you to stream. But it came to Baton Rouge, I think, for only 1 week. I hit up my co-host. I said, Mark, yo, it's out Sunday. We're going. We went at 10 o'clock. So that was one of our favorite reviews. And for us, when something hits a fave, we put it in our fave section on the website. You can see it. It stays up there. We have no time limit with our faves or things that we love. But also, we just did a review or a talk about Xbox layoffs. We'll do some gaming stuff with our friend Nerd Soul and Open Mind and how that may affect physical media and different things going on. There's a lot of rumors that are kind of slightly becoming true, kind of looking at the trends and predicting of how that might affect physical media, physical games. And of course, we're going to continuously talk about the winter season anime that's out right now. So that's what we're currently doing. And if anything else pops up, might have a couple of guests planned, but those are the main things.
Yeah,
That is
so
awesome.
that is fantastic. 2 weeks ago, we had Iowa Retro Gamer Dad, which is a mouthful, come and visit with us, and we did top 4 video game villains of all time. And I asked him a similar question. Said, "Man, what you got going on?" He often talks about the addiction side of collecting because he comes from that world. But he also just dropped just recently a similar video about the disappearing of hard copy of physical media. So he was also talking about that, and New 80s Revolution, who's been on twice, and we tried to have him on a third time. He runs an awesome cast. He's a part of the fam. Hopefully he sees this, but just recently he did a show on his podcast about the same thing. He's always going into like Blockbuster. I'm sorry, not anymore, but he's always going into Best Buy and a few of these other places. He's like, man, it's getting harder and harder to find the things that I'm looking for. And so he was kind of chatting about that. But hey, look, no more time to stick back on that. Let's get to the topic of hand. Today we're talking about beat 'em ups. I sent you a message. I said, what is something you're passionate about? What is something in the video game world that you like? You said you trend to kind of do beat 'em ups, and that you sent me a blog of some sort on your webpage, which we'll put that down below, about some of the beat 'em ups that you wrote about. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect. We haven't done that one yet. And that's a fun genre. So that's why we're visiting that today. We're going to start with Rosie. But before we do, Rosie's number 4. Tell us, as you were compiling your list over the last couple days, what were you thinking? Like, why these 4? Why are these the 4 most nostalgic, most iconic to you?
Well, my criteria is actually a little bit different. I didn't go with just the most iconic. I made sure for my criteria that I own, played them, kind of the history of it, iconic, or the history, what its place in gaming a little bit, and the history, what it means to me specifically. So that's how I pick my criteria.
Nice. Well, we love it. We love that. So again, here's our very first one. Again, we call it Rosie. That's short for Roosevelt. We consider him 4th on the mountain. And it is your turn. Give us what you think is your Rosie.
My Rosie, for me, I went with Castle Crashers.
pick.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
So I am new to this. Can you tell us a little bit about Castle Crashers? I actually just was researching this yesterday.
Castle Crashers is it's made by the Behemoth. Look up the history of the Behemoth and Newgrounds and Dan Paladin, and you'll see how they got created or how they started and how they're still going. First of all, they haven't made that many games, but guess what? Every game that they made has been put on every single system multiple times. So they make their games with care, love. They have their own little funny sense of humor. Um, Castle Crashers came at, I don't have it in front of me of when it debuted or when it came out. It was an Xbox arcade live thing when it came out, so I wasn't able to get it. And then I had a friend, I think she told me about it. And then you heard rumors about it, and it was like this four player beat 'em up, you know, with the creators of the Behemoth, and they did stuff that I've liked before, like Alien Hominid. I played that like crazy for the PlayStation 2 era. And then that came out, and it was like I haven't played a beat. At the time that I heard about Castle Crashers, beat 'em ups were all but dead because the indie scene haven't really dug into beat 'em ups yet or as consistent, or it wasn't that widespread with information through the internet unless you were hardcore in the scene. And I was kind of in and out. I was adulting, so I wasn't really playing a lot of games at the moment. But I was like, okay, that looks fun. There's a lot going on here, and I want to try it. And I've bought it 2 times. I bought it for my PlayStation 3, and then the HD remaster for my Switch.
So
Yeah.
I have
And
not,
well,
I've not played this, but in researching today, because there's a long list, we'll talk about plenty of them today. This consistently was showing on these lists of top
Yeah.
20, top 25, and it was always pretty high. And what I did was I just I started looking through stuff. This was and I've mentioned it. I'm more on the the retro side of games, so anything after PS2 really I wasn't really playing too much of. But looking at the gameplay of this, these sprites like look fantastic. They look colorful, they look bright, everything looks amazing. So Kirk, you're motioning to me. What am I missing something here?
You are missing something, because to me, as soon as I saw this, I said, oh my gosh, I hope Andy's played this game, because it looks like it came right off of the pages of Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for
these
sure.
characters, these characters look like they're like Invader Zim or
That's exactly what it looks like.
very
yeah,
much so.
right. It's like some kind of maybe Powerpuff Girls or something like that. It looks like animation from Nickelodeon. Now, I was researching today. I haven't played this game. I did watch some gameplay of it, and I was like, gosh, that looks really, really, really close to like the same artistry of Nickelodeon. It was in everybody's basic top 10 or so.
Yeah.
And Andy, you make a good point. So Andy is like a 90s kid, right? So I am more of an 80s, early 90s, 90s too, but Andy's more 90s, 2000. As far as video games go, both of us kind of stop in that PS2, Xbox 360, Wii, and now I've been recently playing some new stuff on the Switch, but my library isn't like huge. Most of it's my kids, but I've been playing some of the heavy hitters there. So I haven't played a whole ton, so this one I missed. This one I did miss. Let me jump into my my criteria. You know how we do it all the time, guys. Criteria is basically why we pick this. And I kind of alluded to it. I have a list of about 15. To me, beat 'em ups, if you've seen one beat 'em up, you've almost seen them all. And what I mean by that is there's a couple maybe subgenres within even, so that's like a subgenre of platformers, but inside of the platformer, there's even another subgenre to me. There's those that are like brawlers that are happening like in a cityscape. Somebody stole my girl type thing. There's another one that's kind of more fantasy world, where it's like medieval and those kind of things. And then there's another one that's more either superhuman or animals that are anthropomorphic or whatever that word is. Yeah. So like they're just there's a couple different ones, they all fit. And so when you see one, it's like, oh, that has, matter of fact, in some of them there's the same bad guys. It's like that guy was a bad guy in another game on this same system. And it's kind of interesting. All of mine, I think there's about 15 that are just absolutely iconic. And I'm going with the 4 I played the most, hopefully. And I'm going to start with a big heavy hitter. To me, it's probably at least 1 or 2 on everybody's list. But I'm going, first time I played this was in the arcade. I spent a ton of quarters in it. That's another thing. A lot of these games started in the arcade. So this one obviously started in the arcade, but it changed over and it was one of the big hits for the Sega Genesis. As you can see down low, Sega. Yeah, I'm going with Final Fight. I'm going with Final Fight. It's right. To me, it's a big dog out there. But I love, me and Cannon last night played Final Fight. Well, no, I lie. We played about a week ago Final Fight. We played about 7 games today. But about a week ago, we played, the very first one we started playing was Final Fight, and it is exactly what I remembered. He was playing with Guy. I played with Hagar. And we rolled through that thing and just kept playing and playing and playing. It was such a blast, kind of a blast from the past. I always played with Hagar. There are other iterations that you'll see. A lot of these are franchises, and a lot of these games have series or sequels. I'm going with the original #1 in the arcade. That's where I'm nailing. I loved playing it on Genesis. I love Final Fight CD. I loved the small one with the big heads. I loved all of them. I'm going with the big dog though. Final Fight was just, it was a staple as far as beat 'em ups in the like early 90s for me. I remember as a kid just feeding it. So that's going to be my Rosie.
You took a Benjamin off of mine already, so I'm nervous. This is a good one. This is again.
And that was a Benjamin for me as well.
Yeah. Good. So you
my mission is accomplished.
That's so. My mission is always to try to not crush. His mission is to destroy everyone's Benjamins. Right. I've noticed that, but no, this is a good pick. This is a great game. There's a long series of these games, you know, that there's a few of them. So this is a good pick, man. I like this.
This is one of the games. I'll just say this. This is one of the games where I feel like Final Fight has some enemies that are in some other series. There's some guys.
Absolutely.
There are some guys. That one guy that wears the cape and he kind of like, you see the back of him. How many games is that guy in, or an iteration of that guy? He's in like so much.
To be honest, he's in every single Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
There's some inspiration taken.
It was the first time I ever played it. I saw him in a game today, and I was like, that is the same guy, just modeled different. He is the same exact guy.
All right.
You're up. You're Rosie. And what was your criteria? What were you thinking?
Yeah, man, criteria, not overthinking it. Played the games, had fun playing them. One thing about beat 'em ups in particular, you know, when it comes to the platform kind of genre, you know, then the subgenre of the beat 'em up, a lot of these games were extremely difficult. Now, I mean, some of them were easy, but with having multiple enemies coming at you at one time, if you're not playing multiplayer, you know, arcade, you got another person with you, it's almost impossible to beat some of these games right on your own. I mean, it can be done.
I mean, you could buy the arcade system by the time you're done with it.
Absolutely. But with that said, a lot of these games were difficult, but because they were difficult, I kept going back to try to play. So there's so many memories playing these games.
One of the things, though, not to interrupt, but to interrupt is, yes, they're difficult, but they're easy for anybody to play. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
like
sure,
you get there and you might be dying, but you don't have to figure out some massive thing to learn the moves. You hit both buttons together, you hit one button separately, the other button separately, or you hit them alternatively, and that's it. Like there's nothing, you're not doing all this other jazz.
You press down in B and then you do like the slide kick or whatever,
that later, but I'm talking about like in that original arcade stuff.
Right.
It was really the 2 buttons, sometimes then they added the 3, and it was really, it wasn't a whole lot of science to it. It just was hard. Right?
For sure. Yeah. So with all of that said, again, not going to overthink the criteria. Did I have fun playing it? This first game is probably one that I have so many memories. I've talked about this game before. This was from 1995 for the Sega Genesis. And from an artistic standpoint, from a unique game style standpoint, I don't know many that come close to this one, at least in my recollection. So my first pick, my Rosie, is going to be one of those ones that I consider an obscure game pick for a lot of people, but surprisingly, a lot of people do know it. We're going to go to Comix Zone. Comix Zone is.
I didn't see that coming.
So I saw it a mile away.
Love this game. I love this game. I've talked about this game plenty of times here on the show. This is a game I remember. The soundtrack was fantastic. The idea of being a comic book, a human who then gets into a comic book, and then you're having to navigate through the panels, and there's just this really cool like gameplay feature to this is fun. It was a pretty difficult game, but just such a cool thing. I mean, again, from that stylistic standpoint, not many of them are going to be in this same place. But I just love this game. It's one of those games that I almost felt like for a while there's a window of time where it's like, did people play this or did I just play it? But the more I talk about this game, the more people are like, man, I really loved that game too. So just a fun game. So my Rosie, my first pick is going to be Comix Zone. And one thing that I did like, the main character's name is Sketch Turner. So just a little campy, fun, comic booky kind of name there. So
that's fun. That's fun. Hey,
Very
so
nice.
this isn't the one of the first two. This is the third one that I added. So as I was researching and Keith, give you a little bit of in-depth into my world, and I know Andy does a little bit of this stuff now, usually go straight to Google and type top 25 best of whatever we're looking at, just to see what's out there. And immediately I take a lot of that and I go to Chat GPT all the time, and I then give it some prompts on how to put those lists together. And when I broke it down from like Super Nintendo, Nintendo, and Genesis and whatever, Comix Zone kept coming up on every list. And as soon as I started to see it, I was like, Andy's gonna have this. He's mentioned this before, but my fear was that you wouldn't remember it as a beat 'em up, like you would, like that wasn't gonna be there. And
well, here's the thing. I didn't know that we were, because it's different in the sense of like you don't have 20 villains just coming at you at the same time. It's different in that sense, but it is side scrolling.
It's a very unique.
Yeah, it's different than a lot of those other ones you think of, but it is considered a beat 'em up. Which was I was like immediately, now that's going to be on my list for sure. So
Keith, I kind of had a feeling. I had a feeling.
Keith, you like this one? You know this one?
Oh yeah, it's brute. I mean, I never played it when it was out, but I played it. I think it's on the Genesis collection. It's brutal, so it's definitely
Yeah.
a beat 'em up. Oh, you feel the pain. Oh,
Yeah.
it's hard.
So
Oh,
there it is, man. That's awesome. That is so good. All right, so that is our Rosie. That's number 4. Now, here's the cool thing, Keith. We don't have to give any criteria this time. We can just really jump in. This next one is TJ Jazzy Jeff. Fun name, Thomas Jefferson. It's number 3 on our list. What do you have as your third best beat 'em up ever?
I hope y'all forgive me for this. I'm gonna have to cheat just a little bit. If I
That's
get
okay.
ding me
We
for
love
points,
cheating. We love cheating.
it's technically actually it is 2 games, but they actually have a cart now that features 2 games. But I
Okay.
cannot split these up because the 2 heroines, I can't split them up, so I can't split the 2 games up. I actually streamed it last year, and I rung in the new year um, with this stream. It was one of my better streams on Twitch. I'm gonna say River City Girls 1 and 2. And I
nice.
can tell you,
Nice. Oh my gosh, I did not see this coming. I did
and
not
and
see this coming.
and
Good.
let and it's not really criteria, but I'll explain why. For one, I kind of go through ebbs and flows of when I'm like out of gaming or into gaming. Beat 'em ups, you don't think I never thought about it, but beat 'em ups are always like one of the things that like, all right, I'll jump back in because it's pick up and play, literally. But I did not, and the history with this, everybody who knows Technos, and but trust me, you're gonna hear some Technos and some other things on this list. I'm not gonna spoil it, but the history of it, y'all know the history of Kunio-kun and what it comes from. We'll go more into that. So, and if you know other beat 'em ups, they have 8 from this series. But River City Girls are like the apex of all those things. When they brought this back, they had great animation. I'm not a big RPG guy. This is as much RPG as I want to get. You can build and progress your character up. The humor and the writing, if you like, say, anime slice of life with a little bit of brawling, like if you ever grew up playing like a Naruto, watching Naruto, even that's a little more fantastical, but something like, say, even something goofy like a ramen and a half that's a little out there, but stuff like that is very much an anime that is a fight that is a beat 'em up. It is a RPG type of thing. Um, it's the reverse flip of instead of the dudes having to go get the girls, it's the girls who think they have to go chase their guys down, and they're just fighting all these characters, and it has characters coming in from other games. One particular game that's going to pop up on this list. See what I did there? I'm teasing it, but y'all can figure
Ah,
it out if you understand Technos and you understand the world of that, and the lineage that you can say, or its grandpa, if you will, why this is so good, and it's so good to see why this came back. So I honestly would love a River City Girls 3. I don't think I'm gonna get it, um, but I can replay through these games like every so often, like say Castle Crashers. So far, I'm giving you 2 games or 3 games, if you will. That gives you a whole lot of bang for your buck, and it's hard. It's hard enough. 1 is way harder than 2. You will die a lot, but it's very unique.
So, reason I was kind of excited about it, I saw this game also next to Castle Crashers, and I started looking it up, and I was like, oh, I I know some of these words, and I know some of these things from my past, and yeah, I probably will have something also similar here in a little bit coming up. So I love that. So this game's fascinating just look at. It's a newer style game, bringing back that, but I love the animation. I love the sprites. I love all the things that are together in this game. It is a beautiful looking game. I didn't get to play it yet, but I can only imagine the music and all of that. The sounds are probably really good. It just looks like it's well put together.
I'll say again, these are blind spots because I already talked about retro is kind of where I was at. But looking at it, you have picked 3 games that are visually just really appealing. They look, just from looking at screenshots of gameplay, looks like it's a ton of fun to play. The one knock I'll say is that, again, not knowing the game, if there's any element of RPG in there, I kind of try to stay away. So I'm not an RPG guy myself. You guys, if you go back a couple episodes with Pick and Preacher.
I saw you said that. He's like, give his RPG, get it out of there.
I'm not. It's just 3 letters. I don't like them together. They don't work well. So yeah. Anyway,
it's
RPG-esque like.
But, hey, good pick. I'm interested to look more into that. But Kirk, we're now to you. Your TJ Jazzy Jeff. What you got?
I said I was gonna I said I'm gonna, just the way this is all panning out. I don't know where I should go with this, but I'm gonna just go with my heart here because I got to get it on the list, and I'm sure it may or may not be spoken of again. We might do a little love on this one, but I've got to go back to what I'm a real fan of and what I played a lot of and what I threw a lot of quarters in. It's the first 4-player game I can remember, and the best player is Donatello. I'm going with the Ninja Turtles in the arcade. Now, look, there's got several of them. There's several picks that we can go with. The original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade, and Donatello gets a lot of heck. I get it. Like, we talk about it all the time. He's the geeky, he's the nerdy, he's the whatever. Everybody loves the angry Raphael, or they love the goofy, funny Michelangelo, who's now the, Last Ronin and all this. You love with those arcs. Leonardo doesn't usually get it because he's just boring, and Donatello gets all the. But if you've ever played a Ninja Turtle video game and you tell me anybody is better than Donatello with that bow and smacking people all the way across the room, you're a liar. So this is one of the reasons I love the game. This is probably the first beat 'em up I can remember beating in the arcade, like throwing massive amount of dollars. I kind of feel like this came out when I worked in the mall, and the arcade there in the mall had it, and I was playing it to death. Now, I'm not talking about the Turtles in Time version. I'm talking about the very original #1 game, and now I play it quite often on Switch with the Ninja Turtles collection. But I'm a big Turtles fan. I'm going to put it here. It's not my favorite one, but it's got to be on the list. It just has to be on the list. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean,
It's a very good pick.
TMNT arcade classic. I think everyone's thrown their fair share of quarters into that one. Even me as a 90s, 2000s kid definitely played a bunch of that. This was the one that was also released for consoles too, correct? I mean, it was in the arcade, but it was also
on NES version.
I love when it was released for Nintendo. It was like Ninja Turtles, the arcade game.
The arcade game. Yeah.
And that one in its right had its own like cult following because it was just enough, but it was set apart enough to enjoy at home with new levels and new bosses.
Yeah.
I went back. So, I've played through all of these recently because I think last Christmas my wife bought me the big collection Turtles game on Switch. So I played most of them and playing through, and dang, they're still hard. I remember loving in there, but gosh, I mean, how many times do I get shell shocked in 30 seconds? Like, it's just a tough game. That first level's not too bad. The second one's kind of all right. You get past Bebop, you get past whatever. But when you start getting in the later rounds, I mean, those dang mousers are coming at you like crazy. The surfing one with the Rat King or whatever it is, it's tough.
Yeah.
Krang is in Shredder are nearly impossible. Like I'm like to not die. I mean, if you put enough continues on it, you'll win. But gosh, they're hard.
But it
God,
shows you that for one, it sucks kind of playing the game alone, and how much money is built to take from you.
yeah,
It's like this is beautiful, but it's driving me insane.
Right.
yeah. I mean, it's fun.
Right.
Cowabunga! That was another thing. The music in that game was great, but the sound, like cowabunga, and some of the other things they said were just perfect. Him falling in the sewer and like disappearing. Just there were simple little things that were so fun in that game. Baxter Stock. I mean, that's a great game. It's just a great game.
When it comes to being a 90s kid, 2000s kid, we can throw TMNT's kind of like that 80s kid, thing. Obviously has extended and lasted a long time, but OGs are going to be from the 80s. But there may not be a more iconic group of young whippersnappers as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm going for the Super Nintendo Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from my TJ Jazzy Jeff. I played the mess out of this game. I played this game so much. And I will tell you, the only character to choose, the only character worth choosing is Zach. Because give me that Mastodon Zord. He is always going to be my pick every single time, never going any other way. Man, this game was so incredibly fun. It was fun. You can get into that Megazord battle. You can do all of that kind of stuff. You can channel your, again, I don't know if I ever played with anyone other than Zach. So I don't know if I can even speak from experience of what it was like to play with other players. Cause I was like, Black Ranger, heck yeah, that's the coolest one. It's metal, right? But yeah, so I always 100% played with that. This game was super fun. There was all kinds of different the putty patrollers. Obviously, this whole system, this whole story is built to be a beat 'em up because there's about 1,000 of these putty, right, that are coming after you, even in the shows and things like that. Super fun. It was fun to play with friends. Good. I mean, the soundtrack was there. It's just everything is good. This is, again, the gameplay is very much, it's just beat 'em up, right? Like there's not, I mean, you add in the Zords and the different things like that you can do, but at its base, at its root, it's a true just beat 'em up, side scrolling beat 'em up game. Ton of fun. I know that a lot of people, this could be kind of, some people are on some side or the other of this game, but I just love this game. It says it had mixed reviews. I don't know who's reviewing it because they can mix up out of here. I don't know, but I was a big fan of this game.
So clear it up for me. Clear up the mud just a little bit. Which Power Ranger game are you picking?
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for Super Nintendo.
For the Super Nintendo. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, I have played little, like just a snippet of this game, and of course I picked Zach.
Yeah,
this is a game that when I passed over it and I saw it, I said, maybe, but I hadn't played it enough to know if it was good enough to put on any list. I just know nostalgia-wise who they were, possible. Right. But I do want to throw this out there. If you guys like Power Rangers, go back and check out our short with Austin St. John, and he tells us his top 4 villains he's ever fought. It's a great video. If you like Power Rangers, go find it in our shorts. Hey, so Black Nerd, you like Zach?
Oh yeah, and honestly, I've met him 2 or 3 times.
Nice.
Wonderful dude. I met him at the failed Big Easy Con from a few years ago. I'll say this about Zach. I need to say his real name. I can't remember. If y'all pull that up, but he was such. It was such a. Uh, I was vending at that event, and even though I had the table for free, I still lost money. Or I had to pay 50 for like shout out to Alex Jennings. He gave me his table. Had to pay so much for parking, food. It was a terrible time. It was when the convention center was going through construction. Lost money, but and a lot of the celebrities were kind of mad, whatever. But we met him, the New Day, Xavier Woods or Austin Creed, whatever which name he goes by. Sometimes I forget which one is the wrestling
Which
persona
he has
name.
a phenomenal podcast, by the way. If you're a fan of podcasts, Up, Up, Down, Down,
I
check
watch
that out.
them. I always flip through and see them sometimes. But they were so positive, so professional. Um, and Zach never was downbeat about the failure of the thing. I saw him at Wizard World or Fan Expo, and I just told him, I said, first of all, my little brother was a big Power Rangers fan, which he's also a pastor by the way, preacher as well. I didn't mention that, but and I said, Zach, I said, you know what, man? I said, I know you don't remember me. I know you don't remember Big Easy Con, I met you there. But I said, you were a professional. You were upbeat. I said, man, I can't forget that. I said, I just thank you for that. And, he said, man, he was just so happy and thankful. He's like, hey, man, that means the world to me. I said, hey, man, that was very good inspiration. So it just kind of keeps you in the loop that when I'm having a bad, say, event or something, my goal is not to really let you know that I'm having a bad event as a vendor. I'm not going to try to take it out on you. Now, unless you're trolling me or doing something weird,
Oh.
then we don't know
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
going.
So his
But
name's
if you
Walter Jones. His name's Walter Jones.
Walter Jones, shout out to Walter Jones, man.
Yeah.
In fact, I have not met any Power Ranger at any con, whatever, that's been unprofessional. They all been on point. Shout out to the Kia Barris. Shout out to Karen. Um, Shout out to the Australian lady. I just met them, saw them again. Dope people, wonderful people.
It's now time. Hey, Keith, this is our time we share with our Summit Squad. That's our friends and our fans. This is where we share a little snippet of what a video back in the day commercial would look like for maybe one of our old favorite beat 'em ups. Let's check it out.
New York City. Panic. Terror. Chaos. And that was before. Maximum carnage.
Welcome back to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Guys, if you've made it this far, go down right now. Hit the subscribe, the like, share with a buddy, because you need to be a part of what we call the Summit Squad. Now, as a part of the Summit Squad, all we're doing is asking you to leave your top four down below. And if you could, man, the subscribe and all of those things that normal folks ask for, it just helps. If you want to be a part of this, take this journey with us. We are almost to some great benchmarks, and we just thank you guys for hanging on. But we want to talk about some real friends that are a part of the Summit Squad, and they've been following us for quite a bit. We've been following them. They are other creators with the same mindset, the same goals, and they do all kinds of amazing things. And every week, we just want to highlight one. Today, we are going to highlight our friends from Geek Devotions. Andy, tell us about Geekdom.
Well, Geek Devotions is a collaboration of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. They produce a weekly geek culture infused devotional, their podcast, Com Talk, and written articles, all designed to encourage and challenge people in the geek community, bridging the gap between their faith and their geekdoms. Find all their content at geekdevotions.com. Go check out Dallas and Celeste and friends. They're really good friends, not only just of the show, but of us personally. Really great people. Dallas and Celeste are now in youth ministry too. They're serving as the youth pastors here at their church that they're in. So they're kind of in the youth game too. So it's just, man, we love them so much. So go give them a shout. Let them know where you heard about them.
So Dallas is a huge inspiration to me. Dallas and Celeste, we love you guys so much. Huge inspiration. They were one of the first ones that even made me think going to a convention would be worth it in our world and what we were doing. And it's because of what they do. They went to a convention. Okay, they went to a convention to go and see some of their fandom, like you were talking about, Keith. Going to see Walter Jones and Austin St. John and all these guys were kind of talking about. And as they were out there, they had people, Christians, kind of stirring up some mess outside, saying, it was against what God wanted. And he felt it on his heart to say, would I feel loved if I showed up here and by our fellow Christians? And he decided to go on a journey to make a ministry to serve the geek culture. He's just starting his 501c, and they've literally inspired us to do ministry on our own in this same world. We've been invited to 2 different conventions over the last 2 years. Louisiana RetroCon, which is coming up March 2nd and 3rd, and April 20th, I think it is St. Tammany Collectors Con. We've been invited to come to both of them, and we have a exciting news. You've been seeing us sharing it for a little bit, but here you go. If you haven't, let's go a little light speed.
Prepare to make the jump to light speed.
They're getting closer.
Oh yeah? Watch this.
So we started a little thing called Reboot. Play on words, but we all need a little reboot if you want to get to know Jesus. And that's our real fandom, is where it's at. And in order to go from one life to the next, that's what you need. You need to change your life and turn away. And look, we love all the people at the conventions. It is our jam. We love hanging out. We love high-fiving and hugging, no matter what you came dressed in, what you feel in your heart. We just want to let you guys know, just like Dallas, just like Celeste, that you're loved. And we're going to do a little Sunday service at both conventions. If you're at the conventions, show up. And I've already started working. You guys might know, Five Nights at Freddy's, tons of the guests are going to be at Louisiana RetroCon, and I've already started working on a little message that kind of go along with old Five Nights. So come visit us, and you'll see kind of like what we're doing. But now, enough of that. It is time to finish off this mountain and tell our friends good night. Now, hey, Keith, second half of the mountain. This is Abraham Lincoln. We call him Link. Link. Zelda is not a beat 'em up, but we always try and find a way to squeeze that in anytime we can. You're up for number 2 on your mountain.
Well, it's about that time that I get to a well-known property. Even more well-known than the others. You just touched up on it. I was going to cheat a little bit, but I'm not going to cheat this time. But I will do some explaining. I am going to go TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
Nice.
And I will tell you why. With that, like I said, with me, it's ebb and flows. It was one of the games that when I got my Switch, or I know it was on everything, but I think it came out it was around the pandemic. Whatever you believe, just know that it has affected various people, including my partner. I had the vid before, and during that time, one of the games that everybody was like anticipating. In fact, people who don't even play video games, but because of what turtles mean to them, they was like, I'm getting this game. I'm gonna play this game. We're gonna love this game. And in fact, you know, not to name drop here, but one of the most famous nerdcore rappers out there, Megaran, he's been a guest on the show. He's in the game. He's actually his song, I think it's either the rooftop game or I forgot what level it is. It's either the blimp or whatever, but Megaran is in that game and it was like nobody knew. He kind of released the information. He was like, "Yeah, I'm in the game. You know, I'm on the soundtrack." It's like, and to see people that you met who have something to do with this wonderful game, the fighting, the skills, the modern day pixel art, the um the love that it is, that the homage that it is to all the games, particularly like say Turtles in Time, but with more pull to it. I do feel like it's just a little. I wish it was a little bit longer, even though now they do have the unlimited uh mode. But it is such a good game that it bridges the gap for like all the turtle people who are turtle fans.
I haven't played it. I was really more celebrating the fact that we're getting to some characters that I know at least now. But so the Ninja Turtles, obviously, we've talked about it, good stuff. But looking it up again, you're keeping the trend with this is just a visually appealing game, right? It looks really cool. Like, it is a bright action. Yeah, it looks great, man.
All right, so this is on a very short list of Switch games. What was that?
I don't know. That wasn't on my end. Was that you?
No, I don't know.
All right, you can pick up.
It sounded like it was actually in like whatever. This is on a very short list of games that I need for the Switch. I have about a list of about 5 games that I want to get, and this is on it. But I have watched more than one occasion complete playthroughs of this on Twitch and on YouTube. I've seen several different playthroughs, and not like the whole game, but like pieces of it. And man, the art of this is just phenomenal. It's a new style, and it kind of it marries perfect to the new movie. 2 new art styles to go with everything. But it's a great game. It's fun. It is. I definitely want it. I'm excited to get it. But you know, when you have kids and you're doing things, buying one game a year is about my limit sometimes. And now with the collection of the PlayStation 2, I've kind of put that behind. So I'm getting this game. I love this game. I love this pick. It's not on my list because I physically haven't played this, but I'm sure I would love
it. I know y'all are Turtles fans. I implore you, get this game.
Anyways, let me jump into my note. Let me jump into my pick. Great pick, man. I'm excited for your 3 list so far, and now I'm kind of like, you said you were mentioning something that's coming along for another part of your list, so I'm interested to see what happens. I'm going to jump into mine. This is I don't think I could have a list without this game. To me, it is the most iconic, you know, that's that word we love, most iconic beat 'em up of all time. It is Canon, which is my son. Go check out Retro Canon and all that. And we've been playing all these games, and every time we're done, he goes, "Can we play Double Dragon?" Listen, I'm going Double Dragon. He loves the game. Now that we have the RetroPie, we play the original version from the arcade. But before, we had the little mini Nintendo, and he was playing. And I have it the cartridge still from Nintendo. Actually, it's the one game in my whole collection I have 2 copies of for whatever reason. But I have that one. But the Nintendo version does not do justice to the arcade game. It just doesn't.
It doesn't.
Part 2 is amazing. It's just not as nostalgic for me. It's on people's lists much higher than number 1. Number 1, the arcade game, fighting those abobos were just like, I remember specifically where that cabinet was sitting in the mall, walking in to the place and just feeding it. Ninja Turtles was behind. Over there was a couple of the other games that I'm thinking about that might be on a list or 2, but Double Dragon, love this game to death, and I couldn't have a list without it.
You're striking my Benjamins again, man.
You struck
it's
my
really
Benjamins too.
becoming a problem now. No, dude, this is a great pick. I definitely agree with you though. Double Dragon 2. I think I actually played Double Dragon 2 quite a bit. You know, if I'm thinking about the ones that I played, I've definitely played the original one.
So that's Revenge or whatever. Something Revenge. Yeah. But yeah, it's
another
high.
There's another collab, which I don't want to mention it now, but I doubt it gets mentioned. There's another Double Dragon collab that's a super fun one.
I just want to give
difficult one, but a super fun one.
Some things about Double Dragon real quick. First of all, rest in peace to my older brother. This Double Dragon is always gonna have a special place in my heart. I mean, you talk about playing in mall arcades. You talking about, back in arcades when somehow you play and it was always sketchy older kids in trench coats, and back in the 80s, and they smoked all the cigarettes. And it's just like you find Double Dragon. It was great to play it in Bar Marché. We used to have a mall called Bar Marché in Baton Rouge. Cortana had a mall, but everybody went to Spaceport and Bar Marché and Orwell. Wasn't Spaceport, but it's Spaceport in Cortana. But you can find Double Dragon in the mall. You might find it at like a shady Walmart back in the day or a gas station, and it's just the same feeling. And it fits Double Dragon's post-apocalyptic world. And you learn more of the lore and some of the if you look at the instruction booklet or the books to go for it, it was kind of modeled after, of course, all those movies at the time, Fist of the North Star. And just to give some love to something I mentioned before, Double Dragon is the grandfather. Well, it's like the cousin or uncle of the River City Girls. They appear in that game as characters, and their creator, Yoshihisa Kishimoto, let's just call Kishimoto, he is the man who coined the term beat 'em up, and he is pretty much the grandfather of beat 'em ups. And
Nice.
the reason why he called it a beat 'em up, he said, I wanted to make another game where it wasn't like the first possible beat 'em up was like Kung Fu Master, one hit kills. He said he kind of got the fights as he was a kid over girls, other stuff, not say street games, but high school gangs that you know of that culture, like in anime, where you have like a Kurobara who's like a street punk in his like uniform. And he created Kunio-kun, which later became Renegade for the West. And he wanted to have a game where you beat them up and they feel more than one hit. So that's where the term beat 'em up comes from.
Andy, what is your link?
All right, this may be one that I'm coming out of left field. I don't know, maybe or maybe not. I haven't really talked about this game much, but I absolutely played the snot out of this game. And this is 1994. It came out on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and it was just cool because this was one of the only games I believe that actually came out with a specific color cartridge. And I'm gonna go to Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. I love this game because here's the deal. You could play as Spider-Man, but you could play as Venom, and he was a playable character. I was always picking Venom. There was kind of different traits that you'd have between the two. Like one was the more powerful, the speed, whatever. You had those trade-offs. But there's just so many cool things about this game. Comic book style, it's kind of like the graphics are very comic-y. It's based off the whole Maximum Carnage series there. We said this earlier. You beat up all of these lackeys, and one's got a red shirt, one's got a blue shirt, one's got a green shirt. But what's cool about this one, and I remember this distinctly, when you're beating up one, his name is Jax, and then you beat up the guy in the blue shirt, his name is Max, and then you beat up the guy in the green shirt, his name is Pax. I mean, I don't know, like it's literally it's so just like copy and paste all of these things, but the game is fun. There's you get all the cameo appearances. You get Black Cat, you even get Captain America in this one, as just these cameo appearances. Iron Fist is in it. I mean, there's just so many cool things in this game. The music is great. It's a fun game. And again, played this thing like crazy. Cool red cartridge, all of that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go with Maximum Carnage. Any thoughts on this one?
I
never played it, but I love the
never played it.
for it.
Really?
never
No
played
way. I thought this was more popular than
Now-
what I'm thinking. Who knows?
but it is on my list. Because I made a big list. Because when I was looking at it, I was like, I want to make a list of some of the games that me and Cannon are going to play.
Dude, play this
And
one.
And this is one of the ones that we want to play. This is one of the ones that we want to play. I'm just going to throw this out there, though, Andy. I'm narrowing it down to one of three for your George. And I can't believe all three of them are not on your list. I just cannot believe it. I cannot believe it.
And we have made our way we've beat them up all the way to the George, and we're at our number one beat 'em up. This is where it's all about. This is the GOAT, in your opinion. This is the beat 'em up of all beat 'em ups. So, Keith, Blerdish, where are you going for your George, your number one?
This is so hard because there's stuff that shaped why I like this genre so much. I'm always going to have love for this genre. I am so glad that indie companies have jumped back into this genre and brought it back for people like me, us old timers, who hopefully will be playing till our thumbs fall off and before we go to the great beyond. I'm always gonna have good memories with my brothers playing these games, with my friends, dumping all type of quarters into these games. But I'm gonna say this is funny because what is my George of something that did not start in the arcades, even though I think it had like a special modified box for it in this series, but I'm gonna go to the fourth iteration of this game. As you can see, a trend that's probably going. I don't know if it's the number one in my heart, but it's the number one that how I felt in the past few years. Again, a game that people were anticipating greatly out of the pandemic era, and another game that people who don't even play games say, "I remember how this made me feel, and I want this version." I'm going Streets of Rage 4. It's beautiful.
There we go.
It is absolutely beautiful. It is. You talk about good music, great music. Well, this one doesn't have great music, so I ain't gonna say that. But it has homages to some of the best music, which another version of that does that. But I ain't gonna mention that. But far as being able to play with 3 or 4 people, you got multiple characters, you got great sound effects, you got just enough stages to in the story mode to make it feel great. It's they it went from pixel style to hand drawn, which I've always been fascinated that a video game system can produce a cartoon, if you will. It's not quite a cartoon. You think like, oh, is it gonna be still? They are the most fluid of hand drawn things, and I give it a nod over something like Turtles because it is an original video game IP. It's not licensed from anything else. It's created, you know, Sega put the love to it, but then you have some of the best people like Dot Emu who do indie video beat 'em ups and stuff. And shouts out to Sega for saying, "Hey, y'all go do this." And actually, shouts out to, I hate to say it, the hacks, the people who made all the illegal Streets of Rage hacks, probably got Sega off their butt to say, "Hey, let's make a new one and let's do this." And that's what I think what caused Streets of Rage 4 to happen, because they couldn't do nothing about the hacks. Well, they were actually doing stuff. They actually had a lot of stuff taken down. So if you don't have some of the Beats of Rage games or whatever and all that, I don't think you can find it anymore online because Sega. So, but this just got them into making something that brought, I ain't gonna say it brought back the beat 'em up genre, because sometimes I hate when people say that, oh, this brought that back or touch about that. It never left. It was already back, but this is like, hey, we're here to stay. This shows what you can do with a beat 'em up when given the love, the attention to detail, um, the care to come back a year later with the endless mode that add a whole nother level to the game. Um, that really added like it was like almost another game. So, and to have, you got a list of diverse characters. You got the game let the characters grow older. You know, you got to see the main characters actually. One has a daughter now. One has, scruffy beard, and you get to see Axel. They go from these young upstart cops to like middle age Axel. Running around looking kind of bummy. And it's like, there's something beautiful about that. And it's something beautiful
Yeah.
about that they still will like, stand up against one of their main enemies' children. Even Mr. X, his kids
Yeah.
took over, the thing. So, and to have Max come back, I don't know why Skate ain't come back, but we are glad to have what's his name? Adam come back. And he still got the gold and the black on. And it's beautiful. Like,
Yeah. So this game is not number 4 necessarily. Number 2 was almost number 1 on almost every list I found. And I'm not a Streets of Rage hater. There's just so much more nostalgic to me because you said it. When you think of Streets of Rage, you think of Sega. I didn't have a Sega. I went to my buddy's house to play Sega. And I'm not positive that he actually had these games. And so I never had a Genesis until much later. And by that time, I was really hyper focused on their RPGs, to be honest. Shining Force, Phantasy Stars, things like that. I didn't really play a ton of these. I actually played Streets of Rage 2 and 3 today. Not completely all the way through, but just kind of playing it. And it just didn't spark anything for me. Not that they were bad games. I love them. They were good games. I mean, they're great games. It's just not something that is high on my list. I didn't even put it as a Benjamin. None of them. Not any either 4 of them. And again, it's not because they're not worthy. I just don't have a lot of emotional attachment to them. And so I was like, I figured they'd get mentioned. If you saw in the beginning of the show, I had it Streets of Rage 1 up because I figured at least nobody would say that one. But Andy, what do you feel about Streets of Rage?
Well, yeah, as a whole, I love Streets of Rage. Have not played 4, but looking it up again, kind of, I don't want to say cell shading, but it's that different kind of art style. And maybe I'm not even sure exactly, but I like what they've done with it. They've added more of the, again, back in the day, Streets of Rage 1, 2, those ones were just very strict, side scroll, whatever. This has kind of worked in a little bit more of it looks like at least kind of the 3D, like at least, you're side to side, but you're also, there's some depth to it too. So there's different things like that in there. Love the animation to it. But yeah, Streets of Rage is a fantastic series. I mean, as a whole.
Streets of Rage 4 take what everything I said about Turtles and even TMNT Strader's Revenge. It's the only thing that can notch it. It is so well done, and it came out before. It is the only thing that can notch it. As far as
Yeah,
what it took
I'm
for
gonna
new
give part
features,
four a nod. I'm gonna give part four a nod. I was moving up the chain,
yeah,
and just kind of check it out, and at least play through it. Nice, nice. Well, I don't know. I think there's gonna have to be a little more for that for me for that one. But let me jump in my George, man. Gosh, we're almost there. You mentioned a game earlier, Keith, and you talked about Technos, and you talked about Nakatsu and all that. If you go back and look at my top 4 Nintendo games of all time, it released 2 weeks ago with Retro Cart Collector. This game is on my list, and I am going with River
I
City
knew it. I
Ransom.
knew it. I knew it.
Listen, they're from the same world as the River City Girls, have not really any relation from what I'm understanding. But this game, I can't tell you how much hours I put in this game. I actually played it again today for a little bit just to get a little reminder. We beat the first one. Here's the thing. This is a beat 'em up that is non-linear. You can kind of go all over the place. It's kind of like Warriors in a sense, where it's a bunch of gangs fighting each other. But as all of these things usually do, you're chasing down, trying to go save your girl. The cool thing about this game, it has RPG elements in it, Andy, where you go in between levels and you stop at a sushi joint or another type place, and you buy like a spicy roll. And when you eat it, it gives you more hit points, or it gives you like a bigger bar, or it could give you a more stamina, or whatever the case may be. And then each one of the guys have a like special moves, and then you can go into another place, it's like a training dojo, and you can purchase like how to do a front flip or a finisher and all these other things. But if you've seen in the early stages, you had what was it, Renegade, and then you had Super Spike V-Ball. This was the third iteration from that whole situation. And if you played Super Spike V-Ball, these guys look exactly like those guys. I mean, they're mirror images of each other. But it fights kind of like Double Dragon.
Guess what though?
What's
Cuneo,
that?
because it's, even though we got it called as River City Ransom, this is another flip that they did far as to westernize it for our taste. But what you just said, his name is Kunio-kan. He is the star of all those games. A lot of us didn't notice growing up as Americans, but the reason why he looks the same, because he is the same guy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. I look at it, it looks like Emilio Estevez or something on the cover here, but you can see my original name on it, colored in the triangle as usual. That's my jam. This is my game from when I was probably 8 years old, 9. Well, I think this came out in 1989, so that would have made me about 11 or 12 by the time I got this game. Yeah, just love this game. I cannot have it on this list. I just was trying to figure out where I wanted to put it. But as I kept playing games, I kept going, God, I love that game. Here's another thing. If you haven't watched the last episode, go back and watch Retro Cart Collector. Go follow him. Go join, whatever. Nintendo games. Top 4 Nintendo games. But I will tell you this. This is the one game in the history of games that I know of that I 100% completed. Meaning, I ate every spicy roll, every piece of bread, every move. I got every coin you could possibly get to get my guy to be max everything by myself, fighting all the guys hours and hours and hours. And at one time, I had that password, and I can't find it. I think it's in the instruction booklet, and that instruction booklet is missing. So it's not in the case. So anyways, but I love this game. Andy, you talked a little bit about it last time. There was a little bit of a blind spot for you, but
yeah, I mean,
that episode, did you go and look at it at all?
Yeah, no, and I've looked at it since. I think maybe it was probably Platformers where we were talking about it, but it's very, you know, I like the sprites. I like the look of it. It's one of those ones that always consistently gets ranked. I'll be honest though, like until recently have I heard of this game, you know, because it just wasn't one of those games that I played. Didn't have the NES though. So
also the music. I've used the I've used that for probably 25 of our shorts of video games just because it's so nostalgic to me.
This is not a shocker.
Hold on. Go ahead.
This is not a shocker. If you know me, I've talked about it. This was my George and another topic that I've talked about for. It's been a while since we talked about this one because I'm going to go to the arcade and I'm going to picture me as an 8-9-year-old getting invited to go to the skating rink, to the bowling alley. And I didn't do any of those two things because I just stayed in the arcade and I spent all of my parents' money playing the Simpsons arcade game. It's the #1 beat 'em up. I love this game so much.
One of my Benjamins.
I love The Simpsons. I love The Simpsons. I made it clear. I know, Kirk, you're not a big adult cartoon fan, but The Simpsons are so iconic, such a part of Americana now. In 1991, this arcade game comes out. I was always going to be Bart Simpson. Bart was who I was because you got to ride the skateboard and use the skateboard as a weapon. But this was a very difficult game. It was one of those, again, if you didn't have at least another person or two playing alongside you as Homer and Marge, you know, or whatever, like it was nearly impossible unless you were going to just drop in, you know, a mortgage worth of quarters. This game is super fun. It's everything that you love about The Simpsons. It adds in the humor, the comedy side of it, but it's also a beat 'em up. You've got the villains that you're chasing after Maggie. You got Mr. Burns. You got everything that you want. You got all the iconic scenery and everything, characters, all of those things. The music. It's an episode, an exaggerated, albeit episode of The Simpsons that you get to play out. So I love The Simpsons arcade. And Kirk, I know I see you there. You knew this was coming. There was no doubt this had to be. I know you said one of three. This is the one that was absolutely there when I think Beat'em Ups. I'm here, and then everything else was after The Simpsons.
So let me give you. This is the one I said I pegged you for.
Yeah.
But I also thought you might squeeze Turtles in there.
Yeah.
That was two of them.
Uh-huh.
And there's one other one that's still out there that's probably high on your Benjamins. But this game, about an hour before filming, Cannon and I beat it.
It's so good, isn't it?
Me and Cannon, this is one of the games we played. But let me tell you something. I lie. We didn't beat it. You know why? You know why we didn't beat it? Cannon, if you're watching this, I'm so mad at you. He going into the final boss fight, he went to go in because on the controller for the RetroPie, you hit select to add more quarters. Well, he hit select and started the game at the same time. If you hit select and start at the same time, it resets it. So as we were going in, he was adding a quarter in, and he reset it right before we beat the boss. So we got to go back, or right before Mr. Burns. And, and so we got all the way there. We beat the bear. We beat the crazy guy blowing fire in the bar. We beat all that just now. Homer, like Dreamland. We were in Dreamland. You beat Dreamland. That craziness.
The bowling alley.
The bowling alley. So also we got to talk about it. I mentioned last time that Marge's skull went all the way to the top. And playing the game today, I realized I forgot this. It's a rabbit skull. A rabbit. She has ears inside of it. Like I was thinking it was just a long skull. I couldn't remember.
Playing her
today,
hair.
I was like,
yeah.
Inside her hair, it's a rabbit ears.
Doesn't she have like the vacuum cleaner? Isn't that her weapon?
Yeah, so that was what Cannon was a little upset about. So on the RetroPie, there's 4 slots to put the thing in. Well, for that game, and probably Turtles too, whatever slot you put in is who your guy is, just like the arcade. So he had his slot in for Marge. And he's like, I don't want to be Marge. Dad, start over. And I'm like, no, let's play. And I was Homer. And he wanted to be Bart, obviously. But we played through it, and he was trying to reset to get to Bart, and that's kind of like get another man. Anyways, fantastic game, fun game. Yeah, I don't like adult arcade cartoons, but this game, I dumped some money in it. I did. It's fun. It's a great game. Man, that's our mountains. That is our mountains. We didn't crush. We did not crush. Boom. We did it. Now, we're moving into Benjamin's where we can't crush. So I know that there are some lists depleting. Let's get it. It's time for our second segment, all about the Benjamin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are not live this time, but we're going to talk about our top 5, right? We're on the 5 side, and it is honorable mentions. And honorable mentions, Benjamin Franklin, maybe in American history might have made its way onto the mountain, but he didn't. So he's kind of the honorable mention. This is where we give 4 more games we think you should know about, maybe you should play, and 4 more games that are very nostalgic to us. Here's the rules, Keith. It is snake draft. You're first. You're also last. There's a couple double picks around. Andy gets 2 double picks. You get 1. I'm directly in the middle. We're going to do this. We cannot crush anymore. So we missed our opportunity with that. You name one. It's off all of our list, and you are first. Now, last thing. All my friends, you're new to the show. This is not a time where we really discuss too much about what we're doing. We're just adding extra games. So maybe 1 or 2 comments are here, but we recommend you guys go check them down in YouTube. Find you the games. Go find a way to play these because these guys are amazing. All right, first one off the board for you, Keith.
Since we're gonna go, a little bit more traditional, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Streets of Rage 2. I'm gonna go ahead and just take it off the board.
I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I don't have any of those on my list. Yes.
Because music is perfection. Even though I used to like, it's a Final Fight thing, but it was so stylish, so beautiful. You love the original characters. It's legendary.
My turn. Check this out. I really wanted this in my top 4. I'm going to leave the one I think you're going to pick, Andy, just in case you need it, because I've got some other ones. If you don't take it this round, though, I'm probably taking it next one. Here we go. I'm going with my favorite fantasy beat 'em up, Golden Axe.
Dang it, you took that away from me, too.
Took that away from me, too.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
I love Golden Axe. I loved it for the Genesis. I loved it for the arcade. And we played Golden Axe 2 today. I wasn't impressed. I mean, I played it before. Golden Axe 1.
So my list is just dwindling, man. It's going crazy. But I'm going to go for my first one. Let's just go ahead and pick it. Let's go Turtles in Time. Let's do that. We've had a couple Turtles games not mentioned today. I was always a Turtles in Time fan, so I'm gonna go Turtles in Time. And then for my next one, since it's a back-to-back, let me go. I don't know if this one's gonna be picked. I think I can hold on to that one. But I'm gonna go with actually from the GameCube. I'm gonna go to Beautiful Joe. Beautiful
Wow,
Joe.
I kind of had you pinned for that one a little bit too, because Beautiful Joe and Comic Zone kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
they kind of love each other. That's kind of like a little whatever. But
Definitely works.
you didn't pick the one I wanted you to pick. But I do have some
Yeah.
extras, and I know your thing is dwindling. It's going to make it on this list one way or the other. I'm going to go with my next pick. Another fantastic Sega. I'm going with Altered Beast.
good one.
Okay.
Pick.
That's one that I did not make my
title.
list. It
One of the
almost made
launch
my
titles.
list.
We played that today, and I will be honest, the reason it's so far down, just throwing this out there, me and Cannon played, one, there's no continues in that dang game, and it really is irritating. And number two, it is extremely hard, even without that.
All right, so I'm gonna take a big one off the list, even though if this would make a lot of people's top 4. If you said Simpsons earlier, you know where I'm going. X-Men. X-Men.
Which one?
The arcade one that can hold up
Oh.
to 6 people by Konami. Arcade somewhere.
All right, Keith. So you're going to start the third round now. We've done 2. Coming back the other way. Let's go.
All right, this one is getting harder because y'all took some stuff. I am going to take Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna take another big one off of the board.
Okay. Tell me about it just a little bit.
Basically, it is a Capcom game. There's 2 of them. It is light smidge of RPG in an arcade, which is like the first thing to do it.
I've got 3 more on my list that I really want to make this list, and I'm going to tell you. Actually, I got 4 more, and I'm going to tell you 2 of them I just played for the very first time today. The very first time today, and they were both insanely good. And I'm going to save one of those for now, and I'm going to give you one of the other ones first. So I'm going to go. You mentioned Keith. You mentioned Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to go with one that's a little bit more my style, Dungeons and Dragons-esque, but I'm going to go with Knights of the Round. Knights of the Round. Yeah,
it did not make my list.
I believe it's a Capcom game too.
The Capcom game. It did not make my list. I have it in the collection.
I love it. It's very nostalgic for me. Back when I had that system, if you followed along, young Kirk stole a lot of money, bought a system that he shouldn't have had. It was one of those games on that system, and I played it to death.
Well, I survived. I actually have 4 games to pick from, so I'm gonna have to
hopefully you pick one of mine.
Well, I did have X-Men the arcade game on there, but it was not better than this one to me, and there was a specific reason. I'm going to go to X-Men 2 Clone Wars because we threw in Gambit, which is my favorite of all of them.
Yeah.
So, I got to put on Clone Wars.
I kind of figured that when you were like, which one?
Yeah. So I did get to keep Clone Wars in there. And then for my final pick, I'm going to go with my newest game of all. My newest 2005. Okay. This was PS2 is what I played this on. And you kind of halfway mentioned this earlier, Kirk, but we're going to go Warriors. Come out and play the Warriors game from Rockstar. Dude, this was such a fun
It's a good game.
It was a cool game, man. So that's my last pick, man.
Now I'm heartbroken because I feel like the game we've talked about earlier today, Andy, is not going to make our list. And that's unfortunate because I can't pick it right here because I want to throw this game out there.
We made it a few weeks ago. It's okay.
It did make it a few weeks ago. I want to throw this game out there. I never even heard of this game until today. I went and played it. It was on every list I could find. I've got it on this. I'm going with Ninja Baseball Batman. And this game was amazing. It's so good. It is freaking phenomenal. First off, it's 4 guys that are like, they all have baseball bats. One's big, one's small, one's skinny, one's fast. They're named after professional baseball players: Jose, Rhino, Roger, and I don't remember what the tall, skinny guy is, but it's like, I don't know. But and the whole theme is kind of like Cuphead kind of art mixed with Simpsons. Everything is kind of baseball-ish. You're beating it. It is so cool of a game.
Right. Keith, you have the final pick. This is Mr. Irrelevant. This is the last one. Every other beat 'em up in the history of beat 'em ups is available that we haven't picked yet. What's the last one to be taken today?
So this is my last pick, right?
Yes, this is it.
So you know what? I'm gonna go with my heart on this.
Do
And
it.
we gonna stay in the Kishimoto world.
Uh-oh.
We gonna stay in the Double Dragon, River City, old school, beating up punks, street punks along the way. I am going to go Renegade.
Renegade.
And
One of the originals.
Renegade slash Kunio-kun. And this is why the fact that this is a game that was Renegade is localized for us in the West. And speaking of which, it was localized to look like the Warriors because that's what they felt it appealed to us in the West. Technically, it's really about a high school kid saving, Kunio, helping his best friend out, beat up the high school gangs, but they made it like more violent in a way here, even though it's both violent. Again, shout out to Kishimoto for his works and creating
Yeah.
basically 2
I
games.
had this game on my list because of the nostalgia factor, but honestly, I didn't play it that much. I know that it was one of the originals. I know it looks very similar. Guys are a little more skinny, but yeah, great picks, man. So this is our top 4. This beat 'em up episode. Fantastic. Keith, thank you for coming on board with us, hanging with us. Summit Squad, if you've made it this far, man, we are almost 2 hours into this thing, man. If we've made it this far, thank you. Go in the comments. Leave us what your top 4. We missed a ton. I mean, I've got a list. There's so many sequels that are left. So many playoff other games that we've talked about. So many things left. Go in the comments. Leave us your top 4. That's the whole reason. Join the community. Be a part of it. Keith, thank you. How can they find you? Where do they need to go to find Blerdish, read your content, see your content, listen to your content?
Well, first of all, thank y'all for having me on. This was a fun topic, near and dear to my heart. Like you said, there's several games that we didn't even mention. And it is like 3 Capcom games I didn't even mention. But you can find me at www.blerd-ish.com, just like my t-shirt here, without the exclamation mark. You can go there. Of course, you can find me on blerd.ish on IG. Of course, on Threads, you can go to the Facebook page of the Blerdish Facebook page. I'm Keith Cooper on Facebook. If you're sane, feel free to hit me up. If you're not, don't hit me up on my personal page. But just that's kind of like I'm
So,
saying, like I'm out there.
Keith, are you gonna be out at RetroCon, Satanic Collecticon?
That is yet to be determined. But where I will be at in February at the Livingston Parish Library Con on February 24th. I will be at the Mississippi Anime Fest in Jackson, Mississippi, March 8th and 9th. I will be at the Mobile Bay Anime Fest like April 19th or 20th, and I will be at the Hancock Library Comic Con Fest the same weekend. So I'm got a lot of
Awesome.
stuff going on through all the way through April. And you can find me. I'm based in Baton Rouge. I will be doing pop-ups here and there throughout that time because I try to have a little place where people can find me here and there through Baton Rouge. But I definitely do the con. Unfortunately, you can't clone yourself like Naruto and do every single con. But it's
Right.
possible I might pop up at
Yeah,
RetroCon.
I wish that we could make.
We'll
I,
see.
I wish we could make it more often. But hey, again, thank you for coming on board. Thank you for being a part of the Summit Squad. Look, go and look at our library, Keith. We do nostalgia, movies, TV. We've done cartoons. We do food. We do like all kinds of sports. That's the other one I didn't mention. But go in there, find you another topic that you might be interested in. You're welcome to come back and join us anytime. If you need us for anything, come and hang out on your podcast. We'd love to join you too. But hey, this is the time I'm going to turn it over and kind of talk about what's coming up next, guys. It is the end of February. That means we're moving into music, Andy's favorite topic. And we have, if I'm being honest, we are still working diligently finding guests and finding out topics for these next few weeks. I know we're going to do video game theme songs. We're going to do one-hit wonders. We're going to do, I think we're going to do guilty pleasure songs. We've got so many on the list. If you have a good topic for us for music, let us know. If you want to be a part of the show, let us know. Comment down below. You can see scrolling at the bottom all of our information. Go to any of those things and find us. And last but not least, March 2nd and 3rd, in a couple days from this, come see us at RetroCon in Morgan City. And at the end of April, find us in Mandeville at St. Tammany Collectors Con. Andy, it's about that time to bring forth the rhythm and the rhyme.
Well, let's
what
say good
we
night.
do right about now.
We like to tell the Summit Squad good night. And this is how we do it. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four.
And nothing more.
Peace.